بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى خصوصا على سيد الرسل وخاتم الأنبياء وعلى آله الأزكياء وأصحابه الأتقياء أما بعد. Every human being is created of two components. The first component is what we refer to in the Arabic language as the khalq, the outer shell of the human being. Everything that's tangible, that you can make contact with, your hair, your face, your body parts. And then there is a second part of the human being, which we refer to as the khulq, the internal aspect of the human being, the character of the human being. We spend so much of our time focusing on beautifying our external that it comes at the cost of not giving attention to our internal state. A person thinks that if I am able to lift X amount, or if I have this kind of size on my chest, or if I dress in a particular way, it'll make me the most beautiful and attractive human. Our Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam teaches us another paradigm. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَنْظُرُ إِلَى صُوَرِكُمْ وَأَمْوَالِكُمْ وَلَكِنْ يَنْظُرُ إِلَى قُلُوبِكُمْ وَأَعْمَالِكُمْ. Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't look at your face or your wealth. Allah Azza wa Jal isn't interested in the way you look. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is interested in your deeds, and He is interested in your heart. Therefore, now if you study the legacy and life of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what you see is the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam not commenting on people's physical appearance. Hey man, you're lifting well this week, or you look super great. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam isn't commenting on the sort of garments he sees people in. What the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam surely does is that he comments on people's spirituality and their character. This is the focus of Islam. To take the human being in whatever shape or form they are and turn them into stars, that happens by stimulating their heart, allowing them to reach a place of pristine akhlaq. In the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, that indeed you, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, were granted the most pristine and most prestigious of character. In today's world, it is absolutely fair to say that moral corruption is a thing of the past. Morality no longer exists. What does it mean to have good character? What does it mean to be courteous? Chivalry has been dead. Dressing modestly, speaking in a modest tone, is looked at as a sign of being a coward, that this person actually lacks strength, confidence, and a spine. There's a difference between having a spine and yet being immodest. These are two very different things. The Prophet ﷺ taught the companions to be strong and confident, yet at the same time, he told them that the most beautiful trait in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is modesty. The Prophet ﷺ said that there is not a thing that modesty attaches itself to, but that thing becomes beautiful. When you have a fighter who has the ability to engage at the world stage, yet that person is modest, and when they're surrounded by people or in a situation that challenges their iman, they turn their face away. It makes it beautiful. It proves that this is not just another thirsty brother who's using his stage to satisfy his temptations. This is the person that actually has principle in life. This is the person that actually believes in something special, something unique. In a world where we are post-Me Too and we have seen what the implications of the lack of modesty is and what they are. That people who from the screen and from Hollywood, the echelon of society, that are preaching morality to people now, when their story cracks open, the foundation that they stand on breaks, because in a world of immorality and immodesty, you will only beget immorality, immodesty, oppression. In Islam, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam teaches us that there is not a scenario or situation that you add modesty into it, but it beautifies it. So we spoke about character and then we spoke about modesty. And the reason why we did this is because Islam comes to refine human character. And when it comes to the list of characteristics that we are encouraged to work on and improve on, at the top of that list comes Hayaa, modesty. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that when a person sins, when a person disobeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first trait that leaves them is modesty. Now you're looking at haram, and every time you look at haram, there is a picture that imprints in your mind. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the evil glance is like the poisonous arrow of shaitan. The thing about a poisonous arrow is that once you extract it, you're not on the path to recovery yet, because the poison remains. The minds of young men and women in our society have been absolutely destroyed and polluted. Pornography is not just a coincidental state of entertainment, it's a very well thought out industry. Majority of the internet lies in that cesspool where nothing remains sacred anymore. No relationship holds a sacred relationship. No relationship has any meaning to it anymore. Every interaction of the human being, whether it's something as mundane as eating or buying groceries or changing one's garment or looking after a beloved or interacting with someone of respect in the community, has been perverted. So now you've creeped into the minds of people and taken away their peace. Peace where a person would say that my interaction at the masjid with people was a safe place where I didn't have to be worried and inundated with immoral thoughts. I can just focus on me being me, enjoying this moment. I can just enjoy my family. To now living in a world where everything is hypersexualized. Nothing sells in the world of marketing until you sprinkle a little of immodesty over it. I don't like shopping much personally. It's not something I enjoy doing. It's overwhelming for me. But at times when my wife and children insist on going to the store, and if I'm with them, I tag along. So one time we went over to Walmart to buy some stuff, and they were buying their stuff, and I just said to them, guys, I'm gonna go for a little walk and see what's selling these days. I haven't been here in a minute. So as I was walking around, I was in the aisle where they sell soap and shampoo. So there was a bottle of shampoo, I picked it up. And this is shampoo, right? How you would market shampoo is like, here's dirt, here's clean. This is how you clean, you use this solution here. And I picked it up and I flipped it around. And you know what it said on their tagline, this particular brand? The cleaner you get, the dirtier you get. You guys understand? The cleaner you get, meaning you use this product, the dirtier you get, the more skimpier, inappropriate, and the more attractive you will become if you sprinkle or if you spray this shampoo over yourself. Everything's perverted. Everything's broken down. Nothing is sacred anymore. So in a world like that, when a person goes to school, their mind is distracted. Spiritually, they are at a roadblock. Preserving your modesty in reality is preserving your iman on one hand, and on the other hand, it's preserving your sanity. that you can now live in some level of peace. Ar-Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam said in one narration, إِذَا لَمْ تَسْتَحِي فَاصْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ. Rawah al-Bukhari. That when you have no modesty, then do as you please. This statement, do as you please, is not a concession to now go and engage in haram. It's descriptive to what your outcome will be, that now there are no barriers, there are no guidelines. Most of us come from a culture where respect and modesty was a prerequisite to engage with society. If a son came to his father and had a complaint, the father would say, fix your tone or don't talk to me. Figure out what you're going to say. Get your tone together. Without Hayaa, I won't talk to you. If a person came out to the family room where all the guests were, and if they were just walking around in short shorts, Dad would slap you on the head and say, go get your pants on, buddy. We have guests over. We don't walk in front of guests like this. You don't walk in front of your mom and sisters in a room where your legs are exposed. Go dress properly. There was a standard. There was a standard of modesty that people spoke in a way. And be careful of pigeonholing and thinking that modesty is only to do with exposure of your body and the way you dress. It's much greater than this. There is a tier of modesty that surely has to do with the way you dress and how much of your body is shown, because morality has a lot to do with that, and the human mind is very much visual. But there is another aspect of modesty that has to do with the words you use and the way you speak, the language you use. There's a modesty that when a person speaks to their father or mother, they lower their voice and they say, Mama, I think we should head out now, it's getting late. Very modest, soft tone. And then there's modesty that has to do with actions, that the way you carry yourself isn't offensive to other people. It doesn't make them feel that you are encroaching on their private space. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that last part, if you don't really understand it, it's like, sometimes sisters will say that I was around so-and-so person and he was immodest, not in his dress, but I got a wrong vibe. There was something not right about this person. The way they were carrying themselves, the way they were moving around, I just felt that this person was entering into my private space. I didn't like it. Islam teaches us to be modest at every single level. At every level. One person from the Sahaba saw his brother and felt that his brother was too modest, so he said to him, that buddy, you're overdoing this. You're overdoing the modesty thing. And to that, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, every aspect of modesty is good. Now, if living a modest life means that you won't be able to engage at your potential, that's a whole different conversation. So for example, what I mean by this statement is, in Medina Munawwara, when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would teach the companions, the Ansar, the women of the Ansar, were very bold in asking the questions they had. Them being modest, them being in another part of the gathering did not prevent them from asking what they needed to know. So in praise of them, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, how amazing is the affair of the women of the Ansar. Their modesty does not suspend and stop them from seeking knowledge. Now at this point they're confident, at this point they're bold. There's a time to be timid, there's a time to be tucked away. But then there is a time where you come out and present yourself. Modesty is about living with the right intentions. People who struggle with immodesty, in reality, they have an issue with their sincerity. They don't have a meaning to why they're living. For the most part, it's all to do with showing off and getting other people's attention. Now, what can I do? How can I push a new boundary of society to get people's attention? Let me expose myself a little more. But Islam teaches us a whole different way of living. Don't live your life for people's eyes. Don't live your life to please others. Live your life for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you choose to be modest, don't let your standards of modesty be purely cultural. And this is a big issue, by the way. And if I had more time, I would turn this particular discussion point into a class. Because modesty comes in different forms. There is an aspect of modesty that is cultural. And cultural modesty is that I will avoid those things, because the concept of modesty, let's actually take another step back. When the scholars define modesty, they say it refers to those characteristics that an individual adopts that saves them from being in a situation that they will be blamed for otherwise. So for example, if I were to use a particular word and societally people would blame me for using that word, to avoid using that word and then choosing a separate set of words from my vocabulary, that act of leaving that which would lead to blame to that which would lead to being in a safe place is called modesty. Does that make sense? So when they translate modesty, most scholars, and not Muslim scholars, I'm just using the word scholars from a linguistic standpoint, they tend to pigeonhole and focus on cultural understandings of what is right and wrong. That culturally, if this is wrong, don't do it. So what that means is, touching a child, being a pedophile is immodest, but exposing yourself and jumping around on TikTok like a monkey with your body parts hanging out is not immodest because we said culturally this is okay. You guys understand this right here? You guys are with me? In Islam, we don't just have a concept of cultural modesty. Cultural modesty is great, but there is a level above that. For example, if you go to the subcontinent, for those of you that are not familiar with subcontinent culture, the Bangla, Pakistani, Indian culture, there's a type of garment that our women very commonly wear. It's called a sari. You guys ever heard of that before? Yes, no? Yeah? Now, depending on how you wrap it and how you wear it, there obviously is the Muslimah version of it where your whole body is covered. But the essence of that garment is exposing certain parts of your body. The back is usually exposed. The abdomen area is also exposed. Culturally, it's considered a very appropriate garment, though. People actually would wear saris to formal meetings. You might even find in some situations where members of parliament and government wear that to work as well. It's a very formal garment. Culturally, society, it's considered completely okay. But now when we bring that over to an Islamic paradigm, categorically, it is an immodest garment. Unless you make changes to it, unless you fix the problems with it. Islam does not have a problem with any garment, any fabric, any cotton, or any wool. Islam is deeper than that. It's not shallow, right? What Islam prohibits is immodesty. So you can take your cotton, you can take your wool, and now make sure that it covers you properly. Because modesty, not only does it offer safety to you, but it offers safety to others. Modesty is the ultimate act of courtesy. That I will respect myself in this moment and give myself peace of mind dressing in a particular way, and I will offer that peace and safety and courtesy to you as well. This interaction is not a romantic interaction. It's not an erotic interaction. When I interact with people in the world that I'm in, it will be in a fashion that both of us can benefit from one another, whether it's in a school setting, a gym setting, or otherwise. As Muslims, our parameters and principles on modesty are so refined and so beautiful. The companions described Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's modesty like a newlywed bride who, culturally someone that would look down and very timid and very quiet and soft and thoughtful and composed. That's what we have to offer. But when Muslims go out there and then they decide to become hungry for likes and for views and end up imitating everything the non-Muslim is doing on social media, and they're willing to just go out there and flaunt themselves and sell their dignity and honor for likes, then where is the beauty of Islam in the eyes of the non-Muslim? Where is it gone? Yes, it's true that during the Qatar World Cup, the West couldn't bother paying attention to any of the soccer, and they just kept hating on Muslims. Oh, Qatar did this, and Muslims did this, and they did that. But when the non-Muslims went there, their stories about interacting with a modest society was very different. We could take kids to stadiums now. No one's going to be vomiting all over us. It was actually quite comfortable going through security with a women's only line. It wasn't bad to stand to get food surrounded by people of the same gender. There was a comfort factor there. There was a peace factor there. So with that, I conclude. Today's lecture, today's talk was about modesty. Modesty is The key characteristic in the list of characteristics that we as Muslims aim to improve as a part of our journey in spiritual growth. The lesson of modesty is special to Muslims. And I speak to young Muslims, those of you that are here, don't sell out your values. Don't sell out your modesty to assimilate or for a small little bump of fame. Your presentation, if modest, will be beautiful. People will find you. The people that turn away from you, by the way, who aren't happy because you aren't flaunting and you're not throwing your body parts out there, those people aren't worth anything. Modesty will be a distinguishing factor between you and others, and it'll bring to you people that are also modest. For modest people find peace and comfort in those that are similar. And if you're looking for the virtues of modesty, I will conclude once again with this hadith where Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, modesty is not added to any matter, but it beautifies it. Be proud of your beauty. Be confident in your beauty. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a generation of young men and women who are true to their modesty. May our modesty go far beyond just our dress code, but may it reach our words and our actions as well. May our masajid turn into hubs of modesty. May our madaris and institutions be places of modesty. May Muslim gatherings be a safe place of modesty. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purge our minds from the lesson of immorality that has been injected into us. May our safe places once again become safe. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from us all. Wa sallallahu ta'ala ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.